It was Trump on Sunday posting a graphic which listed all the media that's now in right-wing hands, saying that President Trump is reshaping the media, which is exactly what Putin and Orban did. A lot of people scratching their heads on this. They have shut down the internet in Moscow, St. Petersburg, a bunch of Russian cities, and the official story coming out of Russia is that they're doing this because Iranian drones are getting through. There was an Iranian drone swarm attack on Moscow over the weekend, and that the drones use the cell towers for positioning, or at least as data sources, you know, for figuring out where to go, which may be true. I mean, you know, Moscow's a city of 13 million people. It's a pretty big place, and you do need that kind of, and it's got a lot of cell towers. I mean, they have pretty sophisticated infrastructure, at least in that regard. But right now, people can't, you know, order cars. You know, you don't get Uber there, but you get taxis on the internet. You can't use the online maps. You can't buy, you know, send and receive email or buy goods online or anything like that. And so that, you know, the Wall Street Journal is reporting about this, by the way. Matthew Luxmoore over at Wall Street Journal, the headline, Russia shuts off internet in Moscow as it tests nationwide censorship system, which is an entirely different thing from trying to stop Iranian drones. And this is you could call it speculation. I think it's informed speculation. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that, you know, the speculation is that what's really happening here is that Russia is preparing, you know, that Putin specifically is unhappy with the fact that some accurate information about how badly he is losing in Ukraine, and I don't know how you could describe what is happening there as anything other than losing. He's basically made no advances in a year and lost, you know, 1 million troops so far. That he doesn't want that news getting through. And so they're going to do like China did with the Great Firewall of China, which blocks all information that's unfavorable to the Chinese regime. And if you post anything unfavorable to them, you go to prison or could even end up giving your kidneys before you're executed. You know, whether that's happening in Russia yet, or that's what's planned next. That's, by the way, that's been happening in Iran for some time. You know, nobody's claiming that the Iranian regime is some kind of beacon of democracy or anything to emulate. But, you know, what's going on in Russia here has got a lot of people scratching their heads and very concerned. And you wonder, you know, is this Russia's preparation for a wider war? You know, there has been talk from Russian generals and others about trying to take at least the eastern halves or portions of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, the three major kind of the traditional Baltic states, and then Poland as well, which is just south of them, and perhaps even Finland, which is, you know, north of them on the other side of that strait there. And nobody knows. So keep an eye on this. This could be weird. Meanwhile, observers horrified is the word that David McAfee uses over at Raw Story, horrified by a scary Trump brag that he's following Putin's playbook. Putin's playbook for the media, of course, which was then followed by Viktor Orban, is have friendly billionaire oligarchs buy all of the media, all of the privately owned media companies, and turn them basically into state media, so that they echo whatever the people in power say. You know, much like Fox so-called news. This is how the Murdoch family has made their billions, is by pushing propaganda. And, you know, Putin's got a bunch of oligarchs who are making a pile of money, you know, running their little television and radio networks, doing this kind of thing. And then Viktor Orban decided to do the same thing in Hungary. In fact, he even came over here to CPAC down in Dallas, what was that, 3-4 years ago, and said, you guys need your own media. You should be doing what I'm doing. Have your wealthy people buy the media here in the United States. And sure enough, up steps the Ellison family, kind of the American version of the Murdoch family. And, you know, now they're gonna own a big chunk of this. I mean, this is the richest man in the world now owns X, formerly Twitter, and is spinning it to the right. The second and third richest men control Google. The fourth richest man owns Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, and Threads. The fifth richest man owns the Washington Post, and now the sixth richest man, Larry Ellison and his son David, could be taking over Paramount and Warner Brothers and CNN and everything else. So, you know, it's pretty difficult time, a challenge, shall we say, that we are facing right now, that I think is quite consequential. Garry Kasparov said, and I quote, you know, the famous Russian chess player who now is the founder of Renew Democracy, he's living here in the United States. He said, quote, "Fascism doesn't sneak up on you. It boasts in your face about war, attacking internal enemies and the free press, taking total power. And it tells you must embrace it and not fight it. Consolidating and purging media into loyal hands is Putin's playbook." Which, you know, he's talking about, well, what prompted this was not Brendan Carr threatening the media last week, and it was not Whiskey Pete, you know, our drunken Secretary of War Crimes, going on TV and saying to a CNN reporter, "I can't wait until your network is bought by David Ellison." Although both of those things should shock us to our core. It was Trump on Sunday posting a graphic which listed all the media that's now in right-wing hands, saying that President Trump is reshaping the media, which is exactly what Putin and Orban did. And Michael McFaul, who our former ambassador to Russia, said, "Wow, scary, reminds me of Putin's early years of reshaping Russia media." And he was, by the way, in Russia at that time. I mean, you know, he would have been in a position to know. And so you just have to wonder, you know, what the heck is going on here? This is not media criticism, he notes. This is from Skyline Report, which is a popular news curator. These sites are popping up all over the place where, you know, you can just get, here's your news summary for the day. Raw Story has one. It's rawamerica.com. But this one is called Skyline Report, at Skyline Report. I believe they're on Substack, but I may be wrong. But in any case, they said, quote, "That's not media criticism, that's media capture." Well, let me back up a little bit. A president openly celebrating the use of political power to punish critics and pressure the press is not media criticism. It's media capture, the playbook authoritarian leaders use to bend information systems toward themselves. And the most dangerous part, they ask rhetorically, he's not hiding it anymore. And that, I agree. I think that very much is the most dangerous part. That Trump is running media, you know, is running Putin's media playbook here in the United States, which is incredible. I mean, you know, we had this scandal a while ago where a bunch of right-wing podcasters we discovered were being paid like $100,000 a segment to air Russian propaganda. It's incredible.